The Los Angeles Dodgers are about to do something so wild, so unexpected, so absolutely bonkers that it might actually break Major League Baseball. We're not talking about signing another superstar free agent. We're not talking about trading for a rental player to make a playoff push. We're talking about bringing back a franchise legend, a two-time World Series MVP, a player who helped define an era of Dodgers baseball and who left on terms that had everyone wondering what could have been. Corey Seager might be coming home to Los Angeles, and if this trade actually happens, the shockwaves will be felt across the entire league. The Texas Rangers are desperate to shed salary. Seager has a no-trade clause with only two teams reportedly off-limits, and the Dodgers are lurking in the background, ready to make a move that would reunite one of the most beloved players in franchise history with the team that drafted him, developed him, and watched him become a superstar. This isn't just a rumor. This isn't just speculation. This is a legitimate possibility that could reshape the National League and send the rest of baseball into panic mode. Buckle up, because this story has more twists than a Hollywood thriller, and it's all happening right now. Let's start with the bombshell that dropped and sent Dodgers fans into an absolute frenzy. The Texas Rangers, who won the World Series just 3 years ago and looked like they were building a dynasty, are now in full salary dump mode. They're trying to shed payroll like a snake shedding its skin, looking to move anyone and everyone with a hefty contract. Names like Jacob deGrom and Adolis Garcia have been floated in trade rumors, which already told you everything you need to know about how desperate Texas is to cut costs. But the name that really got everyone's attention, the name that made Dodgers fans sit up and start dreaming, was Corey Seager. According to multiple reports, the Rangers are actively shopping their franchise shortstop, a player who is still just 31 years old, who has 6 years and nearly $190 million remaining on his contract, and who happens to have a no-trade clause that gives him complete control over where he goes next. Think about that for a second. The Rangers won a World Series in large part because of Corey Seager's heroics. He was the World Series MVP. He was the face of that championship run. He was the guy who delivered in the biggest moments and proved once again that he's one of the most clutch postseason performers in baseball history. And now, less than 3 years later, they're trying to trade him because they don't want to pay him anymore. That's not just shocking. That's borderline insulting to a player who gave them everything and helped deliver the ultimate prize. But that's the reality of modern baseball, where financial flexibility often trumps loyalty and winning. And the Rangers are apparently willing to part with one of the best shortstops in the game if it means getting out from under his massive contract. Here's where it gets really interesting. Corey Seager has a no-trade clause, which means he controls his own destiny. He doesn't have to go anywhere he doesn't want to go. And while the exact details of his no-trade list haven't been made fully public, reports have confirmed that there are only 8 teams he would refuse to play for. 2 of those teams are the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox, which makes sense given the rivalries and the fact that those are traditional powerhouses that Seager might not want to join. But here's the kicker. There's been absolutely no indication that the Los Angeles Dodgers are on that list. In fact, all signs point to the opposite. Seager spent the first 7 years of his career with the Dodgers. He won a World Series with them in 2020. He became a fan favorite, a franchise icon, and one of the most beloved players to ever wear Dodger blue. When he left in free agency after the 2021 season, there were no hard feelings. The Dodgers made him a strong offer, but the Rangers came in with a deal that was simply too good to pass up. 10 years, $325 million. That's generational wealth, and nobody could blame Seager for taking it. But now the circumstances have changed. The Rangers are trying to move on. Seager has the power to choose his next destination, and the Dodgers, who never stopped loving him, are suddenly back in the picture as a legitimate landing spot. According to a report from Dodgers Tailgate, the Rangers are actively looking to shed payroll, and Seager's contract is one of the biggest on their books. With a no-trade clause that gives him leverage, Seager could essentially handpick where he wants to play next. And if you're a betting person, you'd have to think the Dodgers are near the top of that list. He knows the organization, he knows the culture, he knows what it's like to win in Los Angeles, and he'd be joining a team that's coming off back-to-back World Series appearances and looks ready to dominate for years to come. Now let's talk about the logistics, because this is where things get complicated and fascinating at the same time. If the Dodgers were to acquire Corey Seager, Where exactly would he play? That's the $190 million question, literally. The obvious answer is shortstop, the position he's played his entire career and where he's established himself as one of the best in baseball. But there's one small problem. The Dodgers currently have Mookie Betts at shortstop, and he's not just holding down the position, he's excelling at it. Who spent most of his career as an outfielder, moved to shortstop, and immediately became the best defensive shortstop in Major League. After a season like that would be a tough sell, both to Mookie and to the fans who watched him make highlight reel plays all year long. But here's the thing. He's played right field at an elite level. He's played second base at an elite level. If anyone can handle being moved around the diamond, it's Mookie. He's a team-first guy who has repeatedly shown that he's willing to do whatever it takes to help. Hey, we have a chance to complain about playing time or position changes. He just wants to win, and if moving to second base, embrace it. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. Why would the Dodgers even want a lineup and makes it borderline unfair? Let's look at the numbers because they tell a pretty compelling story. In 2025, Corey Seager hit 278 with a 373 on-base percentage. 21 are solid numbers, but they don't tell the whole story. When healthy, Seager is one of the most consistent hitters in baseball. In 2023, he hit 327 with an OPS over 1,000 and was the driving force behind the Rangers' World Series run. He's a guy who consistently hits around 300. Contract to the books wouldn't prevent them from making other moves to give up. We're probably looking at a package of mid-level prospects. Guys like Dalton Rushing, who's a talented catching prospect, but might be blocked at the major league level by Will Smith. Maybe a couple of pitching prospects who have upside but aren't considered of their major league roster. It would be a trade where there is time. Does he split time between second base and the outfield? Does he go back to the outfield full-time and let Tommy Edman or another player handle second base? These are the kinds of roster decisions that Andrew Friedman and the Dodgers front office are paid to figure out, and they're really good at it. They've shown time and time again that they can manage playing time, keep everyone happy, and put together lineups that maximize the talent on the roster. If they decide that bringing back Corey Seager is the right move, they'll figure out how to make it work defensively. There's also the question of team chemistry and clubhouse dynamics. Corey Seager left the Dodgers on good terms, but he left. He chose Texas over Los Angeles. He chose more money and a longer contract over staying with the team that drafted him. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Players have every right to maximize their earnings and take care of their families. But when you bring a player back after they left in free agency, there's always the potential for awkwardness or questions about loyalty. That said, the Dodgers clubhouse is full of veterans who understand the business side of baseball. Mookie Betts came over in a trade and has embraced being a Dodger. Freddie Freeman left the Braves in free agency and has become a leader in Los Angeles. If anyone can handle bringing back a former star and integrating him seamlessly into the roster, it's this organization. Let's also talk about the other teams that might be in the mix for Seager. According to reports, the New York Mets and the Toronto Blue Jays are also being mentioned as potential landing spots. The Mets have money to spend and are always looking to make a splash, but they already have Francisco Lindor at shortstop, which means they'd have to move Seager to second base. That's not ideal for a player of his caliber who has played shortstop his entire career. The Blue Jays are an interesting option because they have a young core and could use a veteran presence, but they're not in the same win-now mode as the Dodgers. If Seager wants to win championships and contend every single year, Los Angeles is the obvious choice. It's the team he knows, the fan base that loves him, and the organization that gives him the best chance to add more rings to his collection. And let's not forget about the narrative. Sports fans love a good comeback story, and Corey Seager returning to the Dodgers would be one of the best stories in baseball. The prodigal son coming home, the franchise legend getting another chance to win in Dodger blue. The reunion that everyone wanted but didn't think was possible. It's the kind of storyline that would dominate sports talk radio, generate endless debates on social media, and have fans lining up to buy Seager jerseys all over again. From a marketing and fan engagement standpoint, this move would be a home run, pun absolutely intended. But beyond the narratives and the feel-good stories, the bottom line is simple. Adding Corey Seager makes the Dodgers better. It deepens their lineup, it gives them another left-handed bat with power and the ability to get on base. It adds another proven postseason performer to a roster that already has several. It gives them flexibility to move Mookie Betts around the diamond and maximize his versatility. And it sends a message to the rest of the National League that the Dodgers aren't content with just being good. They want to be great. They want to be unstoppable. They want to build a dynasty that lasts for years, and adding a player like Corey Seager is exactly how you do that. Now, is this trade guaranteed to happen? Absolutely not. There are a lot of moving parts, a lot of variables, and a lot of other teams that could potentially get involved. But the fact that it's even being discussed, the fact that the Dodgers are being mentioned as a legitimate landing spot is enough to get fans excited and start imagining what this roster could look like with Seager back in the fold. Imagine a lineup with Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Corey Seager, and Will Smith in the heart of the order. Imagine the kind of damage that lineup could do against opposing pitching staffs. Imagine the matchup nightmares that would create for opposing managers. It's almost unfair to think about, which is exactly why the Dodgers should be doing everything in their power to make it happen. The Texas Rangers are motivated to move him. Corey Seager has a no-trade clause that likely doesn't include the Dodgers. The financial cost in terms of prospects would be minimal. The only question is whether the Dodgers front office believes this is the right move for the organization. And if history is any indication, Andrew Friedman and his team don't shy away from big moves. They brought in Mookie Betts when everyone thought the Red Sox would never trade him. They signed Freddie Freeman when he was supposed to stay with the Braves. They've consistently found ways to add elite talent to the roster while maintaining financial flexibility and keeping the farm system stocked. If they decide that Corey Seager is the missing piece, they'll find a way to make it happen. And let's be real for a second, the idea of Corey Seager back in Dodger blue is exciting as hell. It's the kind of move that would have fans losing their minds, analysts scrambling to update their World Series predictions, and the rest of the league shaking their heads in disbelief. The Dodgers are already one of the best teams in baseball. Adding Seager would push them into a different stratosphere entirely. It would be the kind of move that defines an offseason, shapes a franchise's future, and potentially delivers multiple championships. That's not hyperbole. That's just the reality of what happens when you add a two-time World Series MVP to an already stacked roster. So where does this leave us? The rumors are swirling. The reports are coming in hot. The speculation is reaching a fever pitch, and Dodgers fans everywhere are holding their breath, hoping that Andrew Friedman pulls off another masterpiece and brings Corey Seager home. Whether it actually happens remains to be seen, but the fact that we're even having this conversation is proof that the Dodgers never stop looking for ways to get better. They never stop pushing. They never stop trying to build the best possible roster. And if that means bringing back a franchise legend and giving him another chance to win championships in Los Angeles, then so be it. The Dodgers are about to break baseball, and Corey Seager might just be the player who helps them do it. If you're as hyped as I am about the possibility of Corey Seager returning to the Dodgers, smash that like button right now. Drop a comment below and let me know if you think this trade should happen. Would you move Mookie to second base to make room for Seager at short? What would you be willing to give up to make this deal happen? And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates on this developing story. Because trust me, this is just getting started and you're going to want to be here for every single twist and turn.